walking to school with friends?
It's like not like today.
Yeah.
You went the first day with mummy,
Yeah.
then you went on your own.
Yeah.
And you went, because you have to realise, like, I'm living on a housing estate.
Right.
So as I said, all the houses were built in 39. So there were a hell of a lot of kids my age. Like
Right.
all the sort of whole population was a similar age. There weren't a lot of old people on it. They're all about the same age. So there's a hell of a lot. All the kids were roughly the same age.
Right.
So you walked to school, and you walked with your
Mates.
friends and enemies, kind of thing. You went with this whole load of other
Right.
kids, and that was it.
And that started like from the first day of school, kind of.
Pretty
like you were
oh, yeah.
kindergarten or grade 1.
Oh yeah,
Young.
yeah. 5-year-old. You're in the first form at 5, and
Right.
that's like you walked to school. But there was probably.
Was it a long walk, or was it just in your?
Well, when I think of it, I'm like, to put it in. It's probably about from here to Pape and Gerard.
Okay, so maybe.
I mean, not a huge 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
10-minute walk.
Well,
10,
as an adult, yeah, but remember
Yeah.
the kids are and that's where the hierarchy gets sorted out.
Yeah, yeah. I get it.
Yeah. So.
All right. Okay, so you must have gone to Nelson Road.
Yeah, I
School.
went to Nelson Road Primary School.
Right, and so that was sort of like the first 6 years of school.
No, that was it was from 5 to 8 years old.
Oh, it's only a couple of years there.
3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went there, and that was a mixed school, boys
So
and girls.
Boys and girls, but yeah, you wore a uniform.
You had a uniform,
Right.
yes, blue and blue, with the Victory. The Nelson ship on it was the badge, the
that's
Victory.
cool.
Yeah. So you had this sort of schooner on it,
Right.
on your
Right.
pocket. Yeah. And so I went to Nelson School, from 5 to 8, and my first teacher was Miss Pipkin.
Mm-hmm.
And my last teacher was Mrs. Pilot, who was a
Right.
really nice lady.
So and those were the teachers that sort of stuck with you as the sort of.
Pardon?
Those teachers are the ones that you remember the most about that school.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose they were relatively significant people in your life. I mean, I'm sure Poppy knows her.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you know your first grade 1 teacher?
I do, Mrs. Barr or Miss Barr. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you're
it's
probably
sort
right.
of like,
Yeah.
like
It's the first teacher.
first
you meet.
teacher, you
Yeah.
never met one before, so, and they were really nice. It was a sort of jolly school. There was nothing particularly kind of exciting about it, but it was okay.
So then at 8 you went to
Witten Boys
School?
C of E,
C of E.
Church of England.
Oh, okay, so you actually had to sit in the chapel for a part of the
No,
day.
it was a much older school, and it was boys only.
Okay.
And it also, because of the C of E
Right.
thing, on Fridays the Reverend Wade used to come in, and on Friday morning you'd have, you'd learn your catechism and God only knows what.
Oh, so you did have to sort of.
Oh yeah, there
attend
was
some
a
church classes.
religious aspect. Yeah, I mean, there's no church in the school per se,
No.
but there was.
Religion was a subject you would study.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah, and with a vicar.
Right. And
Right.
that was done on every day, or that
Every
was done
Friday.
every week?
Every Friday. I mean, you had prayers every day and all that usual crap with assembly and all that every morning.
Yeah.
But that was it. And
Like, did your mum and dad go to church like on Sundays though?
no,
Like,
my dad was was a total agnostic.
right.
Mum would go on the odd sort of,
Easter
Easter
or
and
something.
Christmas kind of thing.
Special occasion.
Yeah, and I was christened at a church.
Right, but you didn't go
But
to
no,
church.
we didn't go
So
to
this was
church
your
on
first
Sunday.
Sort of like
Yeah, this was my first
formalized
exposure
education
to
of
church.
religion.
Yeah, this weird guy, Reverend Wade, and all I remember about him was he had a Bible about that thick.
Oh, yeah.
And he would walk, like you're sitting in those little desks,
Yeah.
and he would walk around, and if he caught you doing something, he'd bang you on the head with this bloody Bible. Yeah, it was serious, like, quite a, a big...
So he's strict
Oh,
teacher.
right. Yeah, and the boys' school, like, there was slippers, canings.
Right. So punishment was to be avoided at
Swift.
all costs.
Yeah, but it was quite good. It was quick and like dirty. Like
You're over
you did
afterwards.
it. That was it. You got caned, or you
That's
got the
nice.
slipper, or they threw chalk as well.
Right.
Yeah, and when you think about it now, I mean, like, holy shit, they'd be like,
The legal cases.
they'd all be sued,
Yeah.
you know. But in
They would
those
be the
days,
teachers.
you went to school, their rules, that was your problem.
Yeah.
Like the parents had nothing to do with
Yeah.
it, didn't interfere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this school had a big wall around the playground.
Oh, okay.
It was an old school, so
Yeah.
the playground was small.
Right.
Anyhow, the wall around there, right,
Yeah.
had broken glass on the top.
Wow.
Yeah.
Keep them in.
I'll keep them out, whichever
Or
way.
keep them out.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
No,
My goodness.
yeah.
That's a little bit different.
Yes, I know.
So Masters Hewitt and Marsden and Gregory. Now,
All right,
those
well,
friends or those?
No, these were my teachers,
Oh, okay.
my masters.
All right.
Marsden and Hewitt were my form masters, like
Okay. Homeroom guys.
homeroom guys, yeah. And Gregory was the headmaster,
Okay.
Mr. Gregory.
And so this school, Whitton Boys School, was from 8
8
years
till
old
11,
to 11. So just another 3 years.
yeah.
It's kind of neat that way because then you're not like here. Primary school is 8 years long.
Yeah. No,
So
this
you've
was-
got like a big difference between the first years and the last years. Whereas if you've got a 3-year difference, yeah, there's a big difference at certain ages.
yeah,
but
yeah.
Really,
But it's not that
big a
bad.
difference.
No, it's not that bad. But the weirdest, the sort of oddest thing was the girls carried on at Nelson School until 11.
Oh,
Only the boys went.
so they got rid of the boys as they were
Getting
getting
a
into
bit
the sort of-
rambunctious at 8, so they palmed them off on the local boys, on
Right.
the boys' school, but the girls stayed on.
Huh.
So Nelson School was, co-ed until 8,
Right.
and then girls only from there until 11.
And so both of these schools were in the same community.
Oh yeah.
Right, so this was
10
just-
minutes away from
Right.
between each other.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you went, I mean, I'm assuming, but when you went from your first school to your second school, I would imagine most of the people that you went to your first
Well,
school went
all
to
the
your second
boys.
school.
Yeah, all the
Like,
boys went
yeah.
to it. Yeah. And
Whereas here sometimes
no,
people
there's
change
none
up.
of that crap. It was like the local kids went to the local school. The end of story. Like,
Right.
and
Unless you moved.
if you move, you go to another local
Yeah.
school, a different local school.
But
yeah.
it's the same mob.
The same
So-
mob, and again the same, like no buses, no trains, no, like you walk to school. Everybody walked to school. That was it.
Right.
You
So
couldn't.
if you made an enemy
You have to
at
deal with them.
7 years old,
You've got to deal with them.
you're probably going to deal with them for the rest of your
School life.
career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I taught you about life early.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. So let's talk about Crane Park and turf cigarettes.
Okay, Crane
Are
Park.
they linked?
Yes, Crane Park is a park over the River Crane, where in the summer holidays we'd all sort of go to and sort of build camps and all this kind of shit. And we also had a swing over the river. I mean, when I think about it now,
Yeah.
like, this is 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
And you would
No
go out.
supervision.
You'd go out for the day. Like you'd leave home in the morning, and you'd come home for tea.
Right.
You'd have you'd have a sandwich,
Yeah.
and where you going to the park? Oh, okay,
Right.
and like that's it.
So you built forts there?
Oh yeah, we had forts, all
swings,
sorts of things. Yeah.
Swam in the river.
Yeah, and swang. Oh, I mean, I don't. The bit I really remember is like it was a fairly thick rope with a big kind of knot at the bottom,
Yeah.
and you'd get on it and you'd run, and it would go right out over the river.
Right. Right. Do you drop off on the end, or no? You swing back
swing
in and
back
get off.
theoretically and get off. Yeah, but you can imagine the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did that, and the turf cigarettes was the first cigarettes I smoked. I remember I was 10,
Yeah.
and I stole the money out of my mum's purse
Right.
and bought a pack of turf. There was a brand of cigarettes.
Called turf.
It's called turf, and we smoked them.
That's funny, in the park, no doubt.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's funny, like, when you look at, like, you know, like Poppy and that sort of, they're sort of, I would say they're over supervised compared with my childhood. Like, and we had to get on with, like, bullying. Like, there's some real arsehole. Like, well, you had to learn to
Talk
deal.
to your friends and you
had
gang up on them.
Yeah, and you know, beat the fuck out of him, you know, or whatever, you know. But you like, you had to look after yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it was different.
Yeah.
So
I'm assuming this is 46. So I'm assuming Rob's now born, or he's just.
Rob was born in 45. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So now there's a baby at home, and so really, mum and dad aren't really paying much attention.
No. Yeah.
Much
Well, they're sort of paying attention, I suppose, to him more than me. But I mean, I have no sort of recollection of them paying attention to sort of him any more than me in a weird way.
But you were onto your own thing. You were starting.
Well, that's when I'm now 11.
Right.
At the end of Whitton Boys. Well,
Yeah.
when I was in Whitton Boys, only 3.5 years, I used to bully him all the way home. I'd never speak to him at school.
Your brother.
Wouldn't dream of speaking to him at school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No. And I would give him a hard time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now, caravan holidays with Granny and Granddad B. That's Ballard.
Ballard. Yeah. Well, we used to. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I never think of my parents as being sort of terribly successful and even really middle class. But like, we always had a holiday every year,
Right.
whereas a lot of people didn't in those days. You know. I mean, they get their 2 weeks off, but like they wouldn't go anywhere. They couldn't afford to. Well, we did go, and we'd usually go with my mum and dad, my granny and granddad Ballard, and we'd usually go to the East Coast, which is windy and the water is freezing.
Right.
They usually would rent a caravan.
Right. So this is Clacton, like where Jones or Ipswich or Colchester.
It was
Is that what
usually
you're talking
Cromer, East Runton. I mean, it's sort of up. There's the sort of Essex coast, which is Clacton, and then further as you go north, you get into the north. The next county is Suffolk and then Norfolk. You know, and up there, but always on the east coast. We never went to Cornwall or Devon, where it's warm.
Right.
We'd always go to these freezing places, you know. And it was always cold and windy, and we'd always go swimming, you know.
Right.
And
Did
we'd
Daddy
go.
and Granddad go swimming?
No.
Okay.
I taught my father how to swim.
Ah. When was that? How old were you when you did
I was probably about 8 or 9.
Oh, well, okay.
Because doesn't it say in there, it says somewhere I went.
Oh, you've got swimming lessons at Hounslow Baths?
Yeah, well, I was taught to swim by Mr. Fry, who was an Olympic coach.
For the British or the English Olympic
Yeah.
team?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or had been. You know,
Yeah.
And he was at this place called Hounslow. My grandparents lived in Hounslow.
Right.
And I don't know, I used to go to Hounslow. I used to ride my bike. I used to go to Hounslow Baths. And I was taught to swim by Mr. Fry. Mm-hmm. And at that point, my dad couldn't swim.
So he was sending you to swimming lessons even though he couldn't swim?
Yeah, well, in those days, a man of his age would never, like, there were no swimming lessons for men. Like, you either could swim or you couldn't swim, and like, that was your problem.
And would he go in the water? I mean,
he'd stand around in the water. Yeah, stand in the water. My mum could swim. But because my dad was brought up in Lincolnshire, which is the Fens, and they didn't go on holiday.
Okay.
Ever.
So that's interesting. In his childhood, when he was growing up, he didn't learn how to vacation.
No.
And I wonder with her, I wonder if the nanny's side of the family, do you know if they went away on vacation?
Yes, every year, because my granddad was a taxi driver,
right.
What he'd do is he'd work day and night the week before.
Right.
So, like, I mean, he had an open-ended job. Like, if you put in the hours, you could make the money. And he owned his own cab.
Yeah.
So, like,
burn midnight oil for 7
couple
10
of weeks or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and you got your money for your holiday.
Wow.
So Mum and Joan and Ron they'd always gone on a family holiday.
Well, I don't know if it's always just about money either. I mean,
Well, and
people
also
don't see the
mental.
value
Well,
of vacation.
my other granddad was growing things.
Right.
Well,
You have to be around for that all the time.
yeah, he could go on a holiday in the middle of winter because there's nothing to do on the
Yeah.
bloody nursery or the farm. But I mean, in the summer,
Yeah.
it's busy, man.
Yeah.
You got to water everything. You got to I
Yeah.
mean, it's a real.
Yeah. And vacationing, I guess, in the sort of 50s or 40s,
Wasn't-
you're not really getting on a plane and going to
Oh,
Florida
no,
for a week or something.
No, you got on a train and went to a boarding house somewhere.
Or the beach in the cold.
No. So that was a difference. The Ballards always had a holiday. The Mayers never had a holiday as children.
Right.
And well, Annie's even has grown up, like they just didn't do vacations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, well, my granny and granddad Ballard, I mean, eventually they go and move and buy a house where they used to go on holiday
Right. By the sea or whatever.
at Clacton,
Right.
at Holland on Sea. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Huh.
So, yeah,
Wow. So holidays were every year
yeah,
and generally in a caravan.
yes.
Because I guess they're
Well,
family, right?
the
There's
odd
4 of
time
them.
we went to Leover Sands a couple of times, and there we rented what they call a chalet.
Okay. The little hut.
No, not exactly a hut, a sort of 2-story house.
Oh, okay.
But it was a sort of holiday home. It's right on the beach. Like the tide came in under the house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, you could get in your boat at high tide and
Wow.
just go out.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
But it was still cool, like cold, as in.
Well,
not
it's like not tropical.
Yeah.
No.
Huh. All right. So Dad's first car is a Standard 8.
Yeah.
The heck is that?
Well, Standard is a brand.
Standard was the brand.
Is a brand like
Oh,
Ford.
okay. Like British
Standard
Yeah.
was just a make of car,
Yeah.
and he had a Standard Big 8 or something.
Huh.
Big 8 is what it was called.
And it was a sedan, I assume.
Oh yeah, just a regular black. Only one colour,
Yeah,
black.
yeah.
And my granddad taught him to drive.
Was it brand new when he bought it?
Oh God, no! It was 1938,
Okay.
and he bought it
it's
in like 52 or
Right,
something.
yeah.
You know,
So
like
it's
it
already
was.
15 years.
Yeah. Oh no, it was run in. Seriously, run
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Now, did you ever get to drive that car?
No, I was too young.
Right.
Um,
But Granddad started driving, and he liked driving cars. And, well, I guess he liked engines, right?
Yeah, I mean, he
Engineer.
knew
was
about
fascinated by that
engines. He's
stuff.
an engineer, you know,
Yeah.
so he knew about it. The only reason they hadn't got a car, I think, was money.
Well,
They couldn't.
when you
Also,
say you went
nobody.
caravan holidays, that means you're taking a train?
No,
and
we
then
would
going
go
to stay in a
all
trailer?
in my granddad and granny's car.
Oh.
Totally illegal. I used to sit.
So Gran and Granddad would go with you? Like everybody?
yeah, we'd all go.
So your Gran and Granddad, your mom
Gran
and Dad.
and granddad,
your
mum
brother.
and dad, brother and sister,
Wow.
all in the same Ford Popular, which was a bloody little car. It's a small car.
So any seatbelts in the car?
No. And in fact, I remember one occasion when my granddad, or my dad, I was on my granddad's lap, sitting next to my dad in the front, and the doors, like there's a lever, and I fell forward, and the door opened, and it was one of those doors,
Like,
like
it opened the wrong way.
Yeah,
So
it
suddenly
opened-
it catches the air and
Yeah.
really flies
yeah,
off.
yeah, and I nearly fell out. We'd go in my gran and granddad's car. We'd all bundle in with the roof rack full of crap on top and stuff, like weird.
How long would you go for? Like 2 weeks or a week?
I can't remember. I mean, I like to think we went for 2 weeks, but it may have only been a week. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were. I mean, we had a good time. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was-
Okay, so now boys' club camp at Hastings.
all right. Well, then you were asking about the church.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I discovered that there was a boys' club, which is sort of like the Scouts, but it sort of wasn't. It was a boys' club,
Right.
only for boys, obviously,
Right.
and it was with the Baptist church, not the Church of England.
Ah.
So I joined the congregation of the Baptist Church, of course, and became a member of the Boys Club.
Mm-hmm.
And the Boys Club had a camp when I was 10 at Hastings.
Okay.
And so you'd all go down on a coach,
Right.
and they'd have these sort of 6-men ridge tents, like standard.
Yeah.
They're called Niger. The brand was a Niger. It was called a Niger.
White
Blacks,
things like.
green.
Oh, okay.
Green,
canvas.
seriously thick canvas.
Yeah.
Thick canvas. Okay. And rope, real rope.
Did you have to set them up, or
Yeah.
they were set up?
No,
already?
we set them up.
Yeah.
So we had supervision.
Yeah.
But so we set them up. We went down to Hastings for a week, and it was great. And we were in, like in Scouts, you're in patrols. Well, in the Boys Club, I don't know what, we were in sort of tents. Tent
Right.
number 3 was 8
Right.
kids,
Right.
8 boys because it was a boys' club.
Yeah,
And you had,
Now, did this have some religious overtones to it?
well, there was a sort of, you were there. The
Like the
church
Baptist
ran
church.
it, yeah. But I mean,
There was
they
no
weren't
church
exactly
education.
converting you to anything. I mean, yes, you had sort of Sunday prayers or something, but I mean, it wasn't, no, I mean, they weren't trying to convert you. And it was just, there were parents, some of the parents were there. There were adults running, who also camped.
Right. Church volunteers
Yes.
were there all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So, it was pretty cool, actually.
Huh.
Yeah, that was neat. Yeah.
Is that something that Rob did, or just you?
No, Rob never did that kind of stuff.
Right. So I get the sense that you and Rob were far enough apart in age that
Yeah.
you sort of.
Never. We
Didn't
weren't
really
friends.
hang out.
We weren't friends
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
No.
All right. So how about the Festival of Britain? 11
Well,
plus. Is that?
All right. The 11 plus is when you were 11, you had to take an exam
Uh-huh.
at school to see if you would go to a grammar school or a secondary modern school.
Okay, so that's the sort of the difference between vocation or trade school and
Sort of.
secondary school.
It's-
One is you're going to go get a job as a plumber. The other one you have opportunities to
Not
maybe
really.
go to school.
It's not that. No, it's just the bright kids went to grammar school
Okay.
and the dumb kids went to secondary modern.
Right. Right.
And
Well, the
maybe-
ones that weren't actually
But you-
applying themselves.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, obviously the grammar school was, in theory, more academic. But as you'll find out later on, it also had a trade stream in the grammar school.
Right.
But it was just. I mean, literally in those days, it was like the brighter you
It
were,
was
you
an
went to
IQ
grammar
test.
school.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and it was like
Was there a price?
no.
So they were both free.
Oh yeah, all
supplied by
free,
the
all free.
government or whatever.
Oh yeah,
By
yeah,
the
state
state
school,
government.
just like here, state school.
Yeah, but they were streaming for IQ,
Yeah.
and it was an IQ test.
Well, it
Or
was
something
a
like
whole
that.
written exam thing.
Right. Based on curriculum.
Yeah.
Okay, so more than just an IQ test.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't just testing your capacity. it was
No,
also
no, no,
testing
no, no.
if
You
you've
had
been
to.
paying
There was sort of.
attention
Have you?
in
Do you
school.
know whatever it is?
Did you study for it?
No,
Right.
not that I remember.
Right.
And you did it, and you either went to grammar school, and that really broke up the gang.
Ah, so that's the final. That's the
That's
chance
the end of the
now-
gang. That
they
gang, and also the other thing was it wasn't local.
Right.
I went to Chiswick,
Right.
which was 5 miles away.
So now you have to take transit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you're there with people
From 5 miles the
Twickenham,
other way.
yeah,
Yeah.
all around, yeah, yeah. So that broke up the gang,
Right.
and yeah,
And you got sorted.
yeah, you got sorted. And
Right.
I went there,
Right.
so I went to Chiswick County Grammar School.
Right. Right. Now, I don't want to lose sight of the Festival of Britain. What
The
heck
Festival
is
of
that?
Britain, the Festival of Britain was a festival celebrating Britain in 1951,
Okay.
and it was sort of Britain's achievements.
Okay.
There was
this
a
is
thing
like
called a
6 or
Skylong.
7 years after the war.
Yeah, after the war. Yeah,
Right. So they're sort of
yeah, sort of.
rebuilding and,
Yeah,
and patting
look at
themselves
how
on the back.
brilliant we all
Yeah.
are and all that kind of thing, and there was sort of all kinds of crap there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what
big
was,
thing.
What was special to you about that? Did you remember?
I mean, I remember going to it, and I remember seeing the Skylon, which was this huge sort of sculpture, I guess it was, just like a kind of needle thing. And there was other things as well, but I can't remember what they were.
So you're pretty young. I mean, we're talking about the
11.
first 10 years of your life.
No, yeah.
11 years of your life.
Yeah.
How many times did you go to London in that time?
No, oh, quite a few.
Yeah.
Because my granddad was a taxi driver in London.
Right.
So one of the things I did, have you ever seen those green kind of places where taxi drivers have their lunch in London?
No.
Okay, well in London, not now, but in those days, there were special places for only taxi drivers could have their lunch there.
So we're talking about a restaurant, or are we talking about...
No, we're talking like a canteen. Like you go to work and there's a canteen. There's a canteen that's part of work. Okay, well...
It's a lunchroom.
Okay, but these were independent lunchrooms, and any cab...
They serve food?
Oh yeah, you have lunch there and breakfast.
So you buy your food from the lady?
Yeah. And it was...
only cab drivers could go there?
Only cab drivers.
Wow. As a grandson of a cab driver, did you have to go?
Yeah, I went there. I went there with. Well, I spent a day. Oh, I spent a day with my granddad at one point in the cab.
Oh.
Well, not in the cab, but next.
Following him around.
No, I was in the I wasn't in the back bit. I was in the front.
Right. So you were
next to him,
mirroring his job. That's
what
we call job shadowing.
Oh yeah.
Go to work with.
I was where they put the luggage.
Right.
And I spent the whole day with him, all over London.
And this is a black cab, an old
black cab that, well, they don't look that much different to the ones now.
Yeah.
The black cab. Yeah. He owned a black cab with he and another bloke, and I'm trying to remember his name the other day, and I can't remember it. But they had they each had a cab, and they had a company.
Oh, wow.
And, they...
So they both had their own cab?
Yeah.
Because nowadays...
You split a cab.
Well, you drive during the day, I drive at night.
Yeah, well, they drove day and night. They both drove. Yeah. And anyhow, you had these special things, and there's still a few around in London. So I had been up with him, and I've had lunch there, or breakfast, or some kind of meal. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
That's neat.
And I mean, he, as you know, with cabbies, knew every street in London.
Yeah. Really well.
Yeah.
And you said he drove a horse and buggy before.
Yeah.
So how long was he a cab driver for?
All his life. Pretty well.
Wow, it's like 40, 50 years.
Yeah, well, he...
This is John Ballard?
Harry. John Harry.
John Harry Ballard.
Yeah, known as Harry.
Right.
He was a cab driver. He was something before.
Right.
And then he became he did the horse...
Yeah,
the original Hackney carriages, which had a horse.
Yeah.
And then he was in the war, and he drove an ambulance in the First World War.
Right. So
and
now he's driving a vehicle. So
Yeah. And then that's I don't know. I guess after the war, I don't know quite when it happened.
Right.
But he became a cab, and he had he must have made good money. He had quite a nice house, bigger than our house.
Yeah, and he was a cab driver. Yeah. Well,
freelance, and he worked hard.
Yeah.
That was the thing, and he had he had contracts with some places.
Yeah.
But he'd stories. He'd tell you that he picked up Lord so and so, and he just drove him across the road, and he gave him 10 quid or something. Fuck, and he knew all the clubs in London, not all the men's fancy clubs and all that shit. Because the other guys, normal people, didn't take a cab.
No, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
So,
and
that's the side of the family that was into service, right?
Pardon? They were all into service.
Both sides were,
yes.
Right?
Yeah. But that's a whole different ball game. It was interesting talking to my cousin. She said, from our point of view, now you say servant, what do you think of?
Oh, lower class. It's
cleaning lady.
Yeah.
In those days, you weren't actually, because if you worked for one of these big houses, enormous opportunity. you could learn to read. You have a library. Like you know, a lot of these families were like, you were the part of the family. I mean, you weren't some. Yes, you weren't.
Yeah, you had to clean. But
Yeah,
on the other end, you were.
and they looked after you, and they helped you.
Yeah.
You know, like you want to learn to read.
Sure.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
well,
Here are some books. and
here
we'll
are some
help you.
books, and we have a library here. If you wish to read anything in it,
Yeah.
feel free.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that lot
Yeah.
were quite, and also I've realised sort of since you and I are still a sort of part of that, but like both my grandfathers were entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Now my dad wasn't, not at all, like totally unentrepreneurial,
Right. Right.
totally unentrepreneurial.
Yeah.
But
Always
my,
work for someone else.
yeah, and like didn't want to risk anything, and was insecure about that kind of shit. Whereas his father was very much, you know, totally, he had his own nursery and all this kind of stuff. No, he started off as a gardener.
Right.
And my other granddad, Ballard, started off as, you know, I don't know, something or other. His dad
Yeah.
was a butler.
Right.
You know, well, I don't know what, you know, and Grandad did something. But then he got into this whole cab business. But like as soon as, he didn't obviously go out and buy a cab on day one.
No.
But
But he worked his way through.
Somewhere along the line, he figured out like the way to make money at this game is you need to own the bloody cab. Now, I mean, I can't remember whether they rented them out at like,
to other drivers.
yeah,
Like
whether
these-
I can't remember if they had other
Yeah.
drivers,
Yeah.
because I only ever saw, like the cab was at my granddad's house. That's where it lived.
You know what? Back in those days, that might not have been such an issue. There might not have been such a need for so many cabs that there are
No,
now,
but-
where you kind of got to run them all around.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I know he worked at nights
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, I know that was certainly in the evenings he would work. You know,
Yeah.
people coming out of the theatre.
Yeah.
There was a whole, you know, they all want to get
So
home.
where did he live?
Well, he lived in Hounslow.
Now, how far away was that from London?
Not as far as you think.
Oh.
It's on the tube.
Okay. Oh, so
Half an hour.
So if he's on the
Well, he
tube,
drove-
he lives in London. It's sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like
but
on the
he-
outskirts. Of
Yeah, he
London,
does.
but
You know,
lives-
Hounslow East is at the end of the line, kind of thing.
Right.
You know,
Scarborough
but
for
yeah, Scarborough. But it's sort of,
Huh.
yeah. I mean, the cab he had a garage.
Right.
It's built into the house
Right.
and with a driveway, and the cab would be in the driveway, and he had a car as well
Oh.
as the cab. Well, you wouldn't go out in the cab.
Right.
That's
Right.
work type
Yeah.
thing,
Right.
you know.
Right.
This is when I knew him.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
When he was older. And,
yeah, this is after the Second World War,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But I mean, and obviously initially just had the cab.
Sure.
But when I knew him, he had a car and the cab.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. But they both were very sort of entrepreneurial. You know, no pension, no nothing. You make what you could
Save as
and
much
save
as you
it.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when he sold the house in Hounslow, which was quite a big house with a big garden,
Right.
and then he bought a little bungalow at the seaside.
In Clacton?
No, I mean Holland on Sea.
Oh, no.
52 The Chase. He bought that. He bought a place there, and that
Okay,
was
so this is Art Jones'
later.
dad.
Yeah, my mum. Yeah, my granddad.
Right. So when does Aunt Joan move to Clacton? After they buy a house?
No, Aunt Joan moves to Clacton. She was in the Wrens
Yeah.
in the war,
Yeah.
and after the war, living in Malta.
Right.
Married my Uncle John,
Right.
who's a petty officer on the HMS Checkers, which
This is
was
after Victor. This is
like Victor
50s.
was killed
Yeah.
in say 43 or something,
Yeah.
or 44, I don't know when.
Yeah.
And then she married John probably 52 or something like
After the
that.
war, right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, after the war. But she stayed on. She was stationed in Malta during the war, and she stayed on.
Oh, till afterwards.
Well, she was still in the Wrens.
Yeah.
and there's
Still
all
got a bunch of
crap.
people in the hospital and
Yeah, I
stuff
mean,
like
there's
that.
still stuff going on.
Yeah.
It didn't like end and everyone went
Everybody go
home.
home now.
Yeah. So she married my Uncle John, and my Bill and Anne were both born in Malta.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they're Maltese.
No, they're British. They're English.
Oh, okay.
That was when Malta was
Well,
an
it was
English
English colony.
thingamajig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
So she comes back and she marries.
Anyhow,
John,
she marries John,
and they move to Clacton.
and then he's still in the Navy.
Right.
My gran and granddad have moved to Clacton, to Holland,
Right.
and Joan decides to move there as well because, like, I don't think she was divorced from John. Maybe she was divorced from John.
Right. But it wasn't going well.
Yeah, no, because I remember at Christmas he used to come there and was there. So, but he's a serving officer.
Oh, so he's just not around.
No, I mean, like, after he'd finished on the Exchequer, he became a petty officer on the Royal Yacht
Right.
with
So
Phil,
away
and so, like,
months
yeah,
at a
well, his
time.
job was on a boat
Right.
somewhere in the world, wherever the bloody Royal Yacht went. So like, yeah.
So that's when.
So
decides
Joan
to
was
move
sort of
close.
single, not divorced or anything, but like was
Alone.
bringing the kids up on her own because he was in the Navy,
Right.
and so she bought at a place called 18 Fernwood Avenue, which is around the corner from 52 The Chase, and
Lived there for her entire life. When she
yeah,
moved
and then they
around the
moved,
corner.
and then Granddad died, and then Auntie Joan got a divorce
Yeah.
from John, so she moved in with my gran.
Okay.
And so they both lived
With
at
the
52 The Chase. Yeah, Annabelle and my gran and my Aunt Joan all lived in the same house. They opened up the attic,
Right.
basically.
Right. Right. I remember.
It was, like one of those bungalows with with a big high roof, so there's lots of
So
space
you
in
can
there.
get a couple of rooms.
Yeah,
Tilted ceilings.
yeah, kind of thing. Attic-y type room. It's quite nice, actually. Yeah.